Exhibits 371 and 372, so 371 is first. And again, so we know the timestamp is actually 22 minutes off. I think we've already clarified that. So the record is clear. The actual time here is 10:58 a.m. Is that your understanding as well, sir?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And just tell us, please, sir, when you see anybody you recognize.
The man walking with his phone, I believe, is the leasee of the suite or room or whatever that the Crumbleys were staying in.
That was Suite 130?
130.
Okay.
The vehicle coming in is the vehicle that we identified as Jennifer Crumbley's Kia.
And the Kia that was left at the Auburn Hills was identified as James Crumbley's Kia?
That's right.
Do you recognize either individual exiting from what was identified as Jennifer Crumbley's Kia?
I recognize both individuals,
Okay. Tell us who, please.
James Crumbley and Jennifer Crumbley.
And where is the defendant, James Crumbley, in this video?
He's walking out now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Right here?
Correct.
Okay. Now, this is the location they were found at 1:30 a.m. the next day, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
1111 Bellevue, okay.
Yep.
Now, that car was pulled in with the front facing forward, is that right?
That is right.
Okay, did you come to learn that the defendant moved that car subsequent to pulling up at 10:58 a.m.?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been admitted as 372. So this is just before 4 p.m. on December the 3rd?
That's correct.
So according to your testimony, this would be about 4 hours after he was charged with 4 homicide offenses?
That's correct.
Your Honor, I would object to that question. Mr. Keast indicated that James Crumbley was charged with homicide offenses.
This is a homicide.
I think we've been clear that this is an involuntary manslaughter case, Your Honor.
It's a homicide.
It goes by both names. The title of the charge is homicide involuntary manslaughter.
Right.
You're both right.
May I
Sir,
answer?
yeah, please.
So that was at 4:17. At 4 o'clock was the time that the judge had ordered the defendant and his wife to turn themselves in.
Okay, so when it became clear that they hadn't turned themselves in, was their license plate made public?
Yes, it was.
Was the license plate on the front or the back of the vehicle?
In Michigan, we only require the license plate on the rear of the vehicle. I've worked fugitive investigations. Oftentimes, fugitives will back into a spot to, one, attempt to hide their license plate, and also it's easier to get away if necessary.
Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there were no arrangements to have a surrender with this defendant or his wife. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So at the time this occurred, there was no plan with law enforcement to turn himself in.
No, sir.
And in fact, someone with a valid felony arrest warrant, they don't get to choose when they get to turn themselves in, do they?
Absolutely not.
Now, sir, I want to go back to November the 30th, 2021. In the afternoon, you had already assumed investigative command. Would that be right, while you were on scene?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you said you met with Special Agent Brandon while on scene at the high school?
I did.
Okay, and what did you task him with?
I tasked him with tracing, frankly, he offered. He came to me and said, do you know who the registered owner of the gun was? And at the time, I did not. He testified earlier, and you heard that it was secured in a garbage can. One of our officers, upon the arrest of the shooter, pulled out the garbage bag portion of it and took just the plastic waste bin and put the gun to keep it all centrally located because searches were still going on and whatever. That officer turned it over to me. I took my post in the front office there. I sat it next to me. At some point during the day, Special Agent Brandon came to me and said, hey, have you identified the owner of this weapon yet? And I had not. So he's like, I'm the ATF. Sounded like a really good idea to have him track this down, and he got right on it.
Okay, and was that information relayed back to you fairly quickly?
It was.
And did you learn that that murder weapon was in fact purchased November the 26th, 2021?
Yes.
Now, you learned the identity of the shooter while you were still at the high school, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier that you had tasked Lieutenant Marsban with securing the family home and securing a search warrant.
Yes.
Now, at that time, did you know if there were any other casualties outside of the school?
We did not. Like I said, I'd gotten some information from area hospitals that some wounded were coming in. So at that point, we're like, well, there's several hospitals in the general facility, so we had to assign officers out to different hospitals to make sure that we could locate and identify any potential victims.
Okay, so when you sent officers there, they didn't know what to find, what to expect?
No clue.
All right. Now, at some point, was there a concern about explosives in the school?
Yeah, so as I was stating earlier, I was getting sent and others were getting sent and observed Twitter, now X posts, Instagram posts, YouTube videos, and we had came across a YouTube video of the defendant's son making a secondary explosive device, potentially more commonly known as a Molotov cocktail, and detonating it. We, at the time, and we'll talk, I guess, about the journal, we found some information in the journal that suggests that there may be secondary devices in place within the school. That prolonged my ability to go and investigate the scene of the crime because we had to continually sweep to make sure the area was completely safe.
Okay, and in fact, did you have to call in a specialized unit to handle that?
We did, yes. Captain Hill, he activated the Michigan State bomb squad with their bomb dogs, and they came in with their robot.